Right. I think good coaches are the biggest part of coaching to me, and every coach has to learn this. Some never do. Is knowing what to say, when to say it, and knowing when to shut up.
Yeah.
And some of my best moments came when I was saying nothing.
Yeah.
And letting kids kind of figure it out on their own, but providing a little bit of direction for them. Give them, point them down the path and see if they can make it to the end. And
hello, everybody, and welcome to Clearing the Bases, the podcast where we step up to the plate and dive deep into the world of youth baseball. I'm your host, Jimmy Filangieri. On this show, we discuss all things related to the preparation and development of youth baseball players, coaches, and yes, even parents. So sit back, settle in, and get ready to hear from some of the greatest baseball minds out there.
In my perfect world, everybody that goes into a dugout would have to have a card where they've been certified. You have to earn so many in-service points. You go to ABCA, you get 30 points. You got to earn 50 on the year. You listen to a podcast, you get 5 points.
Yeah.
And everybody that goes in the dugout is certified to coach.
So everybody, almost 3.5 years ago, we did an interview with Butch Chaffin of USA Baseball, and it was a long time ago, so I'm sure most people don't remember, but when we ended that show, I said to Butch, I have to have you back on again, because this man just has so much baseball knowledge, and I know it's a treat for me. I can talk to him about baseball all night long. So look, this is our 100th episode, and I wanted to bring out somebody really special, and this is a special guy. Butch was the head coach at Cookeville High School in Tennessee. He now works with USA Baseball. His work with USA Baseball is really shaping the next generation of elite players. Butch emphasizes player development, leadership, and that all-important word, winning culture. But before we get into this conversation with Butch, let's hear a few words about the Six Tool app.
For baseball coaches like you, every game brings measurable progress. However, game time isn't the time for trial and error learning. Instead, have a proactive approach. Use Six Tool, the best baseball player development tool on the market. We provide a platform to level up your coaching strategy by helping you to quickly identify and address your players' knowledge of the game. By using our easy-to-implement interactive player quizzes, you can assess position-specific issues, overall baseball IQ, and much more. Win more games and develop better overall baseball players with effective off-the-field training. Visit us at six-tool.com. Six Tool. Get ahead in the game.
Thanks for coming on the show, Butch. I appreciate it.
No problem at all. I appreciate you having me.
So, I just recently found out. So last year you were inducted into the Tennessee Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame, huh?
Yeah, they ran out of good coaches and they've started on the bad one.
Well, congratulations on that. That's a great accomplishment, and well deserved by you. And that was fantastic news.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So talk to me. Tell me what have you been doing? It's been a while, so talk to us. Tell us what's going on in the Butch Chaffin world.
Well, I'm not coaching high school anymore. I'm still teaching at the high school, but I'm not coaching there. And last summer, Adam Williams and Adam Mosley, they taught me into coaching travel ball. In 39 years, I'd never coached travel ball. And I said, Mosley, there's a reason I've never coached travel ball. And he said, man, we'll have so much fun. It'll be fun. And it kind of came at a time when I love baseball with all my heart, but it kind of came at a time where the game had beat me up a little bit, and I was tired. It seemed like I was doing everything but coaching. I was putting out fires and, calling umpires to make sure we had them for games and working on the field and dealing with all that stuff. And I'm not saying I was burned out, but, man, I was tired. And so we coached the Canes 15U team, and the Canes are a pretty good organization, probably the best organization, most professional. And we had the best bunch of kids. It was the greatest experience outside USA baseball that I've ever had. And I got to coach with two of my buddies, and Sean Gallagher joined us. His son plays third base for North Carolina. And the four of us, I know I've never laughed that much during baseball games. We had really good players. They weren't great, but they were really good 15-year-olds, very mature. There was no drama with them. There was no drama with their parents all summer. I think we went like 32-4 or something like that. We won a couple of those World Series things they have for Perfect Game, and we had the best time. I had the best time, and it made me feel good. It left me with a good feeling. So I've done that. Been doing the USA baseball thing, been doing, clinics and conventions and getting out and spreading the word and letting guys have been letting me talk, sneak into the room and get up on stage, and that's been a ball. And I've got kind of a new assignment with USA. I'm working with the college team now, and I'm kind of like a cross-checker scout with the college team. It's going to be, I start next Saturday. Have to go watch a couple kids play. It's not regular scouting. There's a big long list of players who've been identified, and I just go kind of back up what other guys are saying, and write reports on them and things like that. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. I mean, to be traveling around looking at ball players. And, I was talking to Springer not that long ago, and we were talking about, when you're scouting players. And, I think that the average person doesn't understand how difficult that is and how much baseball knowledge you have to be able to scout high-level players, because when you get to the higher levels, well, the players might start to blend into each other, so the differences is very, very small.
No doubt about it, and you're 100% right. And I've said this before, it takes a special kind of kid to play on a national team. This year the college team's going to Japan, so you got to pick mature kids that they can handle the travel. They can handle 14 hours on an airplane, get off the airplane, go to the hotel. The beds are smaller, the showers are smaller, the food is different. They'll eat American food in the hotel cafeteria type setting, but they don't make it like mom makes it, and it just takes a special kind of kid. So you're looking at a lot of intangibles. I'll be honest with you, a lot of things that I will look for are things in between innings when the ball's not in play. What are they doing? That kind of thing. Because, like you said, it's in the minutia. It's in the little bitty details. Because we're trying to find the best guys that fit with what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I was talking to I had B. Mad on the show, and we went over.
Brian Madsen is one of the greatest human beings on the planet.
He's fantastic, isn't he?
I will fight for him.
He is. He's fantastic. I mean, we've become friendly, since he was on the show, and texting back and forth every now and then. And but he went before he went to Panama. We were going back and forth, and pretty much what you just said. You're echoing what he had said, that it takes that special person that in his case, 12-year-olds that are not going to be running around the hotel in the middle of the night, and you have to be able to trust that. So.
No doubt about it. I met Brian Madsen. The first time I met him was late 2016, 2017. And at the time, they wanted an older guy to kind of go to trials, I guess. I don't know. It was Lunch McKenzie and I were the two old guys. And Lunch, he's about 140. He was standing there when baseball was invented. So I met B-Mad in Santa Clarita, California at 12 training. And I was like, I told the director, I was like, this guy's gold.
Yeah.
This guy is absolute gold. And, uh, there are very few like Brian Madsen.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, we hit it off. Had him on the show. I just reached out to him, out of the blue. Hey, what do you think about coming on? He said absolutely, and we kind of hit it off. And yeah, what a great human being. So,
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. And in 2017, I went to Taiwan with the 12s. I was the hitting coach on that team. And when they first asked me, I was like, I don't know. They're 12 years old. I don't know if I have the energy to be a little league coach. And I started getting around them. We picked a team, and I was like, good golly, they were the most mature 12-year-olds I'd ever been around. Our first baseman was Ralphie Velasquez, who last year he gets drafted by the Cleveland Indians and signs for $3 million. And those kids, all of them were just so mature. It's not even funny.
well, I'll tell you what impressed me, because I watched every one of those games down in Panama, and what really impressed me was the level of talent of those 12-year-old boys. It was phenomenal to watch them play.
It's off the chart, and everybody thinks they've got a national team kid, and I've said this for years, and I've said this to other scouts and coaches their first time. I'm like, don't be so quick to pop off in a meeting, because to understand a national team kid, you got to be around national team kids. And I always do this thing when I'm around people for the first time. I'm like, okay, tonight when we get done, I want you to tell me 3 kids who are here trying out again out of all these hundreds of kids who've already been on a national team. See if you can pick them out. And they come back. That kind of gives them perspective, and they come back and they're like, hey, I think I have 2 of them. And I'm like, who you got? And they say the name, and I'm like, yeah, those are national team kids. I said, do you see how they act, how it's different? You watch B-Mad's team play in 12, and every manager's different, but his kids were launching bombs against teams and just dropping the bat and running around. They weren't trying to show anybody up. There wasn't like eye black war paint. Because we hammer into these kids starting, with B-Mad. He might be the most important guy in USA baseball because that's their first taste.
Yeah.
And he's got to train them the USA way. And he does a magnificent job. He's like R.J. Farrell, David Sharp. Those guys, they're so good at that 12 level because they do a great job of teaching them how to be a national team kid.
Yeah.
And once you're on a national team, you want to be on another one.
Yeah.
You want to get back to that.
Yeah.
And so they kind of stand out when they get around, mere mortals, I guess you could say.
Well, yeah, that's something that, I wish there was a way to let, the youth baseball world will say, parents, to see that, because I don't really think that people understand, their kid may be a good ball player, okay? And yeah, but like you said, is he a national team type player? And we know that that's rare. Those kids are very rare. And I think that a lot of people in the youth baseball world think that there's a lot more of those type of kids than there really, really are.
I really believe our national team, especially at that younger level, and I've worked at every level. Now I'm at, with the college kids. But that 12 level, you think of 12U baseball, you think of Williamsport and Little League World Series. Our national team could go to Williamsport. You could put an all-star team together of all the other teams, and we would beat them 99 out of 100 times.
Yeah.
And I don't say that to be arrogant or cocky, but that's just the facts.
But it's different.
It's 100% different.
Yeah.
And, you don't realize the trials. These are 12-year-old kids that many times have never been away from their parents.
Yeah.
And, you get on that plane, you fly 14 hours, you put them in a hotel, you put them two to a room, you lay down the law and say, keep your room clean. You're going for minimum effort by a maid to touch your room. she should be able to just come in there and change your towels.
Yeah.
And be on time to meals. Don't be on time. Be early. Be on time to bus. Don't be on time. Be early. And a lot of them thrive when they get away from their parents, and you'll have one or two that are kind of homesick because they're still 12 years old. Sure. But like I said, B-Mad and RJ and David Sharp and, Troy Gerlach and those guys, they get their message across that, hey, listen, you have a special gift and you can start training to be a major leaguer right now. So we need you to act like a big leaguer right now. That's our advantage over other teams. We're going to play team ball. We're going to put a bunt down when we need to put a bunt down. This is not home run derby, and pitchers, you're going to jam yourself up and you're going to have to get out of those jams because it's 20 kids, 4 coaches, a director, a photo guy, a social media guy. There's 24 people that are all for you, and pretty much everybody else on the island is against you. So, it's an amazing process. I've seen it with the 15s. I've seen it with the 18s, and now, I'm going to see it with the college team. But I too wish parents could see it.
Yeah.
I wish coaches could see it.
That too.
Because those kids, they are different. And a lot of my friends have had kids on national teams, and it's amazing to me that better coaches have better players. So you can call and say, hey, what's this kid like? And they'll shoot you straight.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a really neat process, Jimmy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's one of the things that I preach about all the time because I love, and I say this all the time, that the way USA Baseball does it with, going to the tryouts in your region and then getting through the carry and then them looking at you there, the task force, and then, picking guys to come back. This is a true competition to see who can carry the load, and it's just a great way of doing it. Whereas a lot of people are used to, you were talking about coaching in the travel world. Well, I paid my, whatever $1,000 to be on the team. Why isn't my kid playing? Where here you really have to prove yourself.
No doubt about it. And I could tell you story after story after story. And one of my things is I always tell guys, and we stay in a hotel in Cary when we're there evaluating talent, and all the scouts ride in a van together to the park. And I've been saying it for years that when that van door opens, I always go, hey, leave your heart at the door. Don't fall in love with anybody because they're a cool kid. We got to have players. We're going for gold medals. And not everybody agrees. There's guys on Twitter and stuff. Hey, they left off one of the best players because they don't understand the formula. They don't understand how we do it. You pick your 9 starters, but the most important guys you pick are backup catcher, two-way outfielder. And at the 12 level, almost all of them pitch. But there's a formula that goes into it. You got to have a utility guy, and you got to have one guy on the team that can play anywhere you need him to play, and not just play it, but play it well. And the 18s, Glenn Ticini was coaching the team a few years ago, and they went to Japan. This is the 18U team, and on the plane ride over, the starting catcher, his appendix were about to go, so he spent the whole tournament in the hospital. So he turned to the backup catcher. And I think it was like the 5th pitch of the game. He gets a backswing on the hand, breaks a bone in his hand, he's out. And they have to turn to the emergency catcher who went on and caught 8.5 games, and they won a gold medal with that kid behind the plate. And, they were already lining up. Has anybody ever caught before? Get down in the bullpen. Let's see what you got. Because, you got 20 guys, and once you cross that airspace into that country, your roster's locked in.
Yeah.
And you got to play with who gets off that plane.
Yeah. But again, what you just explained just goes to show the caliber of player, because let's face it, not the average kid can go out there and be a backup to the backup catcher and be able to perform well enough for the team to win a gold medal.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we've cut first-round draft picks because they didn't fit. We didn't know they were going to be first-round draft picks, and they just didn't fit. and we've kept kids that they peaked their junior year of college and never even got drafted. And you can go back and look at the history of USA baseball and the glue guys. I've said Lunch McKenzie and I should write a book that just about the glue guys, the guys you've never heard of, that if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have won a gold medal. And I think of guys like Kevin Kais. Kevin Kais tried out for the 18U team. It was when Harper and Machado, I believe it was 08, 09. And Kevin Kais is a kid out of Utah, tight family. His dad and his grandfather were driving cross country. The second day of trials, we get word that, Kevin's grandfather had passed away like in Kansas. And so the director, he gets me because he knew, that was my position group. And so Kevin and I had built up a little relationship, and he said, Kevin, your grandfather passed away. And it's perfectly okay. We're already making arrangements to send you home. And he had his head down in a chair, and it's just the three of us in the room. And he's got tears in his eyes, and he looks up and he said, "Go home." I'm not going home. And I didn't know what to say. I was like, Kev, just think about it. He goes, "I'm not going home. My grandfather would have wanted me to stay. So
Wow.
I'll worry about that later. I'm going to stay with the team."
Wow.
And Kevin, now he's got a soft spot in my heart and all the scouts' heart. And I'm like, leave your heart in the van. Leave your heart in the van. Don't fall in love with it. He's got to be able to do this. It's too important. And he goes out and he's doing everything. Kevin goes on and he goes to Oregon State. And his freshman year, he starts at third. And his sophomore year, he starts at short. And his junior year, he starts at second base and didn't get drafted. And his senior year, he starts at first base, ends up getting drafted, plays a couple years. But the neatest thing about him, after that, like 30 minutes after we told him we got to get on the bus and go practice, and we go practice, and you could never tell it. And then it comes down like he's on the board, and I'm trying to get him on the team. And I go to him at lunch, and I'm like, "Hey, Kevin, have you ever caught before?" And he goes, "Coach, catch all the time." And I'm like, "No way." And he goes, "Yeah." So we're going into our last red and blue game, and I go back to the meeting. I'm fired up. I said, "Start Kevin behind the plate tonight." That's like his natural position. He said he does it all the time. He starts behind the plate. He catches Jamison Tayon, who was a first rounder, still in the big leagues.
Yeah.
Catches him for 4 innings and runs off the field after the 4th inning. And he's running toward me. I'm in the dugout, and he's running toward me, and I can see him smiling through the mask. And he sits down on the bench, and he goes, "Coach, coach." And I lean up, and he lifts the mask up, and he goes, "I've never caught before in my life." Ended up making the team, obviously. I think, they went to Venezuela at the time to play Pan Am, and I think he went 3 for 5.
Wow.
Like he appeared in 9 games. He appeared in 4 of them. Was All-State in Utah, obviously recruited, a signee by Oregon State, when they're still rolling, but when they were really rolling.
Yeah.
And just a glue guy. You got to have that guy on your team. Carried equipment and was just, he's a coach now, and he's a phenomenal human being.
I mean, just what you said about him, catching, that's amazing. Again, that just it proves your point that he's a glue guy. He'll do anything to help the team.
And he didn't just it looked like he had been a catcher his whole life. And I was like, "Kevin, how'd you figure that out?" And he goes, "Coach, when you're playing out there in the infield, you're staring at home plate. I just did what I've seen other guys do." And he's catching, Tayon, who at the time's like 94, 95 with power sink and a hard slider, and he's just framing it up, catching it, and I'm like, That might be one of the most amazing baseball things I've ever seen in my life.
That's an incredible story. But you had mentioned before about coming out of the hotel and getting into the van to go to the field, and that's all fine, but you just can't have Wes driving the van, right?
We talked about that today.
Did you really?
Because I'm going to let this out, and if anybody in Alabama hears this, please don't turn Wes in. But Wes has this bad habit of making phone calls while he's driving a vehicle, and he tends to miss a lot of the colored, lights and those red things on the side of the road. The only person that can ride up front with him is Dave Webb. And Dave Webb runs the radio and doesn't even look at what he's doing. And we're in the back and can see everything a lot of times. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty.
I got a chance to, at the convention, I spent a decent amount of time with Wes, and it was nice to catch up with him. He was also on the show, and again, we became friendly, and we spent some time there. What a great guy. I mean, phenomenal human being.
Wes should be the poster boy for the state of Alabama. He is the nicest human being, has so much knowledge. He's so good with, players,
yeah,
and communicating with them. And I've never met anybody that didn't like Wes. I'm sure there's a couple out there, but I've never met him. So he's another guy. My Necton group, my coaching circle, we pretty much text and WhatsApp, and we do all that stuff pretty much every day. And those guys, they're like family to me.
Yeah.
And Wes is like family to me.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what a great family. They're all great guys. What else can you say? So let's jump into the weeds a little bit here. So now that you're doing travel ball, and I got to tell you, you're very lucky that you're doing travel ball, because you're doing it at a level where, like you said, it's fun. As you well know, all travel ball is not like that.
Yeah.
So you're lucky, but let's talk a little bit about developing players. What do you think the biggest challenges are about developing players nowadays?
I think a lot of times coaches and players, they want to skip steps. They want to immediately go to good. And I think that's the beauty of our game. I can put you on a football field, and if you're really fast and kind of tough, I can hand you the ball, and you're going to be good all of a sudden. If you're 6'5", 300 pounds, you're going to move people around all of a sudden.
Yeah.
If you're a 6'9" high school basketball player, you're going to be bumping your chin on the rim. That doesn't take a lot of skill. You're going to be good all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But baseball, it takes longer to develop. And I've got this really bizarre theory. I have a lot of bizarre theories, to be honest with you. But one of them is like, kids aren't playing the game the way they used to. Well, if you're not any good at it, you shouldn't play it. And if you don't love it, you probably shouldn't play it.
Yeah.
And, my thing as a coach is, if I drive by a Little League field and the left fielder's facing the fence and the center fielder's picking dandelions, they probably don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to be there, you're not going to be any good.
Yeah.
But I also believe this on every Little League team. There's that dude that wears 2 sweatbands on each arm, got eye black, got a great glove, loves to play, collects baseball cards. If it's not baseball, it's wiffle ball. Every team has that kid too.
Yeah.
And that's the kid, instead of trying to drag everyone into the game, we need to identify those little kids that are like that, and we need to love them up and keep them in the game.
Yeah.
I'm obviously, a long time ago, I'm too old to work camp now. I have to have like a nap in the middle of camp or something now. But when I first started out, I started on the West Coast, and I worked my way all the way back to Tennessee, working camps all summer. And I would leave, my teaching position, I would leave the day after school was out before I was married, and I'd get back the day before school started again.
Wow.
And Southern Cal, UCLA, UNLV, I just seriously worked my way, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Memphis, Vanderbilt, just worked my way all the way back. And I I don't think we have a lot of people that would do something like that now.
No.
And I'm not saying that
No.
that's just how it was.
No,
but,
you're right.
you know, kids, the parents used to drop the kids off at camp so we could help make them better. Now I think they're dropping off at camp so we can teach them how to play. You know, where not many dads are in the front yard playing catch anymore. You know, I see it, you know, and I know dads that do that, but there are not a lot of them when they're younger. Not a lot of dads throw good BP anymore. Heck, my mom probably threw the best BP I've ever hit off in my life. She'd throw it as hard as she could. And, you know, every now and then, if I hit 3 or 4 in a row, she just whistle one into my ribs. And I'm not even kidding about that. And I think every girl I ever dated could throw BP. You know, that was a date night. You know, go to the cage and then go to Wendy's. That was living large right there. But I just, you know, I see a lot of kids, they want to skip steps.
Yes.
You know, they don't want to put their work in on the tee. They don't want to do the front toss. They want to hit live on the field. And they want to try to bash it out of the park. You know, and we see a lot of guys that come in through USA that will have a round of batting practice where we're like, all right, this round you're hitting every ball the other way. And they struggle doing it because they never have to do that. So, you know, the nuance of the game is the beauty of the game to me. And I know kids that can take ground ball. They can take fungo all day, but they can't turn a double play because they never work on that.
Yeah.
They never work on off-balance throws and, you know, fielding things at your feet and throwing from down there. They don't work on stuff like that as much. So I would say the number one problem with development is too many kids are trying to skip steps.
But now, you say the kids are skipping steps, and I'm going to be a little critical here. Isn't that the fault of the coach?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, I think in my world, seriously, in my world, and I know this is probably highly unlikely, and I've studied this again. You know, I try to be a deep thinker, and I got guys like Chuck Box that keep me honest. You know, in Sheets, those guys keep me honest. But you know, in Europe, they put the best soccer coaches with the youngest kids.
That makes sense.
And the very average soccer coaches work with the kids that already know how to play, and all they have to worry about, you know, those coaches have to worry about is strategy.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about skills. They just worry about scheme. And in the United States, I think it's the other way around. We take anybody that will walk up and coach a bunch of 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
And they may not know what they're doing.
Yeah.
In my perfect world, everybody that goes into a dugout would have to have a card where they've been certified. You have to earn so many in-service points. You go to ABCA, you get 30 points. You got to earn 50 on the year. You listen to a podcast, you get 5 points.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody that goes in a dugout is certified to coach.
Yeah.
That understands, you know, you don't have to understand the nuances. You don't have to work on like double steal, but you need to know some strategy. You need to know some teaching points. So, you know, and you're right. You're right. There are probably more bad coaches out there than there are bad players. And the one thing, if I could go back, the one thing, the other type of kid we need to embrace is that kid that loves the game, but his skill level is not there yet.
Yes.
And we need to really love that kid up.
Yep.
Because, you know, the BMADS guys from 12 to 18, that 6-year period, and I've seen it, and I can tell you players, this past summer, the 18U team won the gold medal at the Pan Am Games. And their shortstop was Cason Cunningham. And Cason Cunningham's one of my favorite guys. He was the MVP of the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
That kid got cut when he was 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. He got cut every year.
Wow.
Now, he split into some developmental camps. You know, we would send him to a developmental camp. But he never was really like the star of the team because he was smaller. But he, as a 16-year-old, he got cut from the 18-year-old team. And out the door, I grabbed him, and I had this conversation. It was a very personal conversation, but I was like, the meat of the message was, keep working, man. Don't give up. Don't give up. And he comes back, and Rick Eckstein's the manager, and he said, I think I found the shortstop. And I'm just like in my head going, please let it be Kaysen. And he goes, this Cunningham kid, I really like the way he plays.
Wow.
And when he was 16, he popped up, and he kind of loafed at first. Man, I grabbed him, pulled him into a dugout bathroom, and I went, what are you doing, man? If you're 6'6", 220 and drop bombs, I can overlook a jog, but that ain't your game.
Yeah. You
need to figure out who you are. And I'm not saying I made him a player, because a whole bunch of people had their fingerprints on that kid.
Yeah.
But, he comes back. He's more than likely, he signed with Texas. He's more than likely going to be, he's going to be a first rounder, and he'll be one of the first 15 picks for sure.
Yeah, no, that's another thing, and I've talked about it many times on this show, that it's that kid, and I've seen it happen. I can give you a quick story that I had I think it was a 13U travel team. This is going back years ago. And there was big kid, big lefty. So I went over to him and I said, big kid for a 13-year-old. And I said, hey, kid, you ever pitched before? So he says, no. I said, why? He said, well, my Little League coaches, they used to put me out in right field. They didn't really let me do much. So I said, I threw him a ball. I said, throw some pitches. So he threw. So I said, okay. So I took him on the team, worked with him, this and that. And again, it wasn't like it was any magic. I just worked on rudimentary things with him. Like you said, build up his mental side of the game, where he understood that he had to grind and he had to do all of that stuff. And he wound up pitching in college.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody would give him.
Mind right there.
Yeah, nobody would give the kid a chance. Just give him a chance.
That's what and everybody's like, when all the skills the same, and you start looking at those intangibles, we look at character. Yeah. Your worst nightmare is having to have Marines rescue you from a third world country because the kid throws a water balloon off the balcony. So obviously character, but man, I'm telling you, heart, toughness. We had a kid at NTIS. His last name's Butterworth, and he's a little bitty kid. And he was playing up, and he's little bitty. But, man, he had game. And I kept thinking, you're a really good – in my head, I was thinking, you're a really good player. You just don't have strength yet. And I told him, I said, Butter, you got to get stronger, man. We had a little discussion, and I got a really cool picture in my phone. I'm on the outside of the dugout. He's leaning on the dugout next to me, and we're talking, and somebody hit a fly ball, and we're kind of both looking up at this fly ball. But Butter goes back, man, and he's driven. He's got unbelievable heart, and he's a tough kid, and he ends up being all-state in North Carolina and ends up, being the shortstop at North Carolina State. And this past year got drafted in the middle rounds, and he's a professional baseball player now.
Yeah. When was it, a month or so ago, I had Tabor Mongero on. And, Tabor, small kid, fought his way through high school ball, went to Gardner-Webb, then went and played JUCO, then wound up at UNC Wilmington. Small guy, grinder, has the right attitude, and, that's really what it's in the heart. It's not in the head. And now, as a matter of fact, my next show that I'm going to be doing is Jet Williams, who's the shortstop for the AAA Mets. 5'6" kid, first-round draft pick.
Yeah. Yeah. And Tabor, you were talking about Tabor. Tabor's an absolute stud.
Oh.
And, I couldn't let you go on. Tabor was a good athlete, but like you said, he was undersized. But unbelievable heart for the game. Loved the game. Tough kid. Tough, dirty, tough kid. Yeah. And match it with that skill set. His baseball IQ is obviously off the chart. And you put all that together, and, you got yourself a heck of a player.
Yeah. And not only is he a good player or a great player, he's a great kid.
No doubt.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so I agree with what you said. I mean, I constantly go through the minutia of the game, the rudiments of the game. All the way down to we had hitting practice the other night, and it was a freshman, and he's struggling, and, there's a lot of flaws in his swing And, he said, Coach, what can I do? So I said, okay, come here. This is the drill I want you to do. It's my favorite drill, where you get a little wide, no stride, and just hit off the tee. So he said, well, Coach, he goes, I can't do that. He said, it's cold out, there's snow, this. And I said, no, come with me. I took him in front of a mirror. And I said, I want you to stand in front of the mirror, make sure we stay stacked, da-da-da-da-da, go through the drill. I want you to do that 15 minutes a day. Now, my opinion is it really doesn't get much more basic than that. Mm-hmm. And that's what we need to be teaching. Not like you had said before about, double steals, double cuts and this and that. Let's get the little stuff right first.
Right. I think good coaches are the biggest part of coaching to me, and every coach has to learn this, and some never do, is knowing what to say, when to say it, and knowing when to shut up.
Yeah.
And some of my best moments came when I was saying nothing.
Yeah.
And letting kids kind of figure it out on their own, but providing a little bit of direction for them. Give them, point them down the path and see if they can make it to the end. And I don't know. It's a beautiful game, and right when you think you got it figured out, something new pops up. But it is a beautiful game, and if you have heart and you're a tough kid, and I think if you work on your skill level and you keep that mindset, that you can achieve, you can do anything if you want to. And again, I have a soft spot. This is a part that parents and players don't realize, that if you're a good kid and you're making good grades and you come to every practice and you do everything I say, I'm looking to get you in a game.
Yes.
I'm dying for you to be in a game.
Yes.
And I can give you 1,000 examples where I wanted to put a kid in, and I looked down the dugout and he wasn't paying attention to the game, and I'm like, I can't play that kid. He's not even paying attention to the game.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you how many kids that I've had that, once they matured, once they wanted to be there, once they were a good teammate, and they were tough and had heart. A really good player that I coached when I was coaching high school. He's a good kid, and he was best friends with our first baseman, who was a good player. And there wasn't any room for this kid that I'm telling you about. So, but I wanted to play him. We moved him all over the field. He's probably a 6'4" kid as a sophomore. I'm trying to get him to play someplace. We tried to pitch him, and he came to us as a first baseman because he's a tall kid. And I tried him in the outfield, and he had like natural ability to close on balls because his legs were so long. He could close on a ball. And I was like, man, I want to play this kid so bad. And I put him in a game, gave him sacrifice bunt. This is a true story. He put the bunt down, moved the runner over. This is back when I sacrificed bunted. Next game, same situation. I was like, let's go, Sparks. And puts the bunt down, moves the kid over. The next game, I go, let's go, Sparks. And he gets he's starting to get in the box, and he's like mouthing at me, bunt. And I'm like, no, hit away. Dude hits a double in the gap, never came out of the lineup. And I always use him as an example of he did everything you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And he got his opportunity, took advantage of it, and that was his sophomore year. And he was a starter in right field his junior and senior year.
That's fantastic. See, I love hearing stories like that about, kids that rise to the occasion. And actually I should even say that, because I always say that we don't, it's an old SEAL, Navy SEAL saying, we don't rise in times of crisis. We don't rise to the occasion. We sink to the level of our training. Right. But somebody that's going to, like you said, do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. How could you not love that kid?
And like I said, I think that's the forgotten piece by parents and kids. Why is my kid not playing? Well, I think you have this wrong. I'm dying for your kid to play.
Yeah.
I need your kid to play.
Yeah.
Well, you tell me, why is your kid not playing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's as good as, I don't need as good as, I need better than.
Yeah.
And why is your kid not playing? I would tell every coach, if a parent ever says, why is my kid not playing? Flip it on him.
Yeah.
You tell me why he's not playing.
Yeah.
Well, he was an all-star when he was 6. Well, we ain't 6 anymore. He trains like he's 6 now. That might be the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I have a soft spot in my heart for kids that have heart, and they are tough. And, man, if you're not tough and you don't have heart and you're not living my culture, I'm going to bury you. I will absolutely bury you.
Yeah.
There's no need you being here.
Yeah, I mean, you just hit another word that, we might as well go to a little bit, is about culture, because the program that I'm in now, I just started, last year was my first season at this school. I took over a program that had no culture. The program is a mess. They haven't been winning it. I was their I'm their 5th head coach in 5 years.
Yeah.
And I looked at it that to me, it's a challenge. I said to the AD, I said, give me 3 to 5 years. I said, I'll build this up. I said, and we'll be competing again. That's all I can promise you. But anyway, culture. Okay. So one of the things that I'm having a hard time with is building that culture, because I've never done it before. All right. This is my first time doing it. And talk to me about culture. How do you set the culture? How did you do it?
I think culture is one of those things that you can't rush it. You can start out didactically at a whiteboard and write what you believe in. But I think if you're starting culture and you're writing down what you believe your culture is going to be and in front of the kids, and you start going past 10, 12 points, if you force feed the culture too quick, it's probably going to blow up on you. And how do you know when your culture's working? When your kids are living it, when they're preaching it to other kids, that's how you know your culture's live. And, Tim Corbin at Vanderbilt, he says, that if you have to teach culture every day, you probably don't have a good culture. And you watch the better programs and you look at their culture and you can see culture. Like you can absolutely 100% see the culture. And the better players, it's not an act.
Yeah.
They're living it every day. And you start out simple. You just start out simple. Hey, this is what we're going to do. Number one, you're going to respect our hat. You're going to protect, with USA, this shield means the world to me.
Yeah.
And if you're not respecting the shield, I'm going to police that.
Yeah.
And, guys laugh at me all the time. There'll be, dads at USA Complex who are trying to be hip and cool, and they'll flip the USA hat backwards. And I'll walk by and I'll go, Bill goes forward.
Yeah.
Bill goes forward. And because when you're on that complex, you're on my turf. That's sacred ground to me.
Yeah.
And, if we were walking down the streets in New York, if we were in Manhattan and you had a USA hat on backwards, I probably wouldn't say anything to you.
Right.
But if you're on my turf, I'm going to tell you. The Atlanta Braves, New York Yankees, and USA Baseball, they don't wear sunglasses covering the shield.
Oh, God, no.
They don't wear the sunglasses covering the shield. Might look cool, if you're Panama or Cuba, or you can do that, but we're not going to do that.
Yeah, that's...
And that's culture.
Yeah.
That's the culture. USA Baseball, you got a blue jersey on, you wear a red shirt under it. You got a white jersey on, you wear a blue shirt under it. That's culture.
Yeah.
You tell them once, they got it.
Yeah.
They got it. And that's the culture that you want to breed and grow. And culture will take care of itself. If you don't talk about culture, you're going to have culture either way.
Yeah.
If you don't talk about it, it's going to be a bad culture. If you just kind of preach it every day, and I always used to say, I'd start out like, hey, remember, we got to mop this locker room. Which team's on the mop today? Remember, I'm just reminding you. But, you can count on 2 fingers the number of times where I didn't even have to say that.
Yeah.
And I always knew we had good culture and good chemistry when my best players were doing all the menial tasks, taking out trash, mopping a locker room.
Yeah.
You know, I knew we were okay when the best players were leading the team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just made me feel real good because, number one, last year, very first practice, you know, the boys were getting ready to stretch, and I walked over, and the very first thing I ever said to the team, anybody that has your sunglasses on the brim of your hat, either put them on your eyes or go put them in your bag right now. And they were, you know, you could see right away, they were like, holy crap. And then, you know, we go through, you know, again, the school didn't have any workout gear for the boys. So they don't have, you know, like, you know, shirts and hoodies and all of this stuff. But I do tell them when we're working out, gray baseball pants, navy top. That's what I want. Everybody the same. When we're in the weight room, navy shorts, white shirt. And we do that. And when we're in the facility, again, but like you say, I don't talk about culture. I just tell them this is what we're doing. That's it. In the facility that we're training in during the winter right now, very first thing I did, I said, understand something, guys. When we leave here, I want this place to look cleaner than when we got here.
Sure.
And let's do that. So again, you made me feel good because I feel like I'm doing it the right way.
I had a team one year. Do you remember it was like 10 years ago where flat brim was all the rage. And I didn't like the flat brim.
Me neither.
And so I would make them, it had to have a slight curve to it. And man, I went out to practice one day, and there were about 5 or 6 of them. They had flat brim hats on. And I went and got a Coca-Cola box. You know those big boxes that the cups come in. And I put it out there, and I went, put your hats in that. And I took their hats away from them. The only time they got their hats is 5 minutes before a game. We'd go in and out without a hat on. And they were kind of embarrassed, but they got the message. And I never had a problem with that again.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, your culture, I think you cultivate it, you grow it. People would think of like culture as, you know, a flower. You got to grow it. You know, when you want to see that pretty flower, you put that little seed in the ground. It doesn't look like much, but you know, it's going to grow. It's going to come on. And if your older players are helping you monitor culture and cutting off some of your little problems, you know, those little things that coaches lose their mind over, that to a normal human, they don't even see it. But I can tell you, in a recent national team, this kid, they had white pants and navy top, and they were supposed to wear navy socks with it. And every day this kid wore royal blue socks. And he didn't even know that we were talking about him. You know, like that kid can't even wear the right sock.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know? But yeah, your culture, it's going to happen with or without you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I mean, like I said, to me, it's, you know, like you said, as coaches, we're always learning, and I'm always trying to learn more and be better at what I'm doing. And this is new to me. You know, it's only this past November was 1 year that I was at the school. So, you know, again, I'm studying this. I even sat down with Sheets in that class that he had in the fall, and right. You know, to learn more about how I could make things better for my players, and to hear from you that this is the way to do it, then good, I'm on the right road.
See, and I think players, I just spoke at a leadoff dinner thing the other night.
At Fulton.
At Fulton High School, and Buzz McNish is doing a heck of a job. He's been there 3 years. Their first year, they won 3 games. Last year, they won 14. He's building something special, and he's got supportive administration. But I told them, I said, what a lot of people don't realize is, you know, you're 15, 16, 17 years old, and you're trying to impress each other. But everybody that controls decisions in your life is of a different generation. Like, I'm looking for 14-year-olds to send to 15U camp, you know, and I'm 61 years old.
Yeah.
So sometimes I don't understand war paint eye black and a big towel hanging out of your pocket, and I don't get like an elbow guard or, you know, an ankle guard. Sometimes I don't get that. You know, I don't get that. You know, you wear an elbow guard and an ankle guard and you got a C flap on your helmet, and you're diving out of the way it pitches. See, my generation would go, that kid's not tough. Now, that's not fair, but that's what I'm seeing.
That's what you're seeing.
And, I see a guy that's tremendously undersized, underweight, and he's swinging for the fences. Not many people can do that.
Yeah.
Some can.
Yeah.
It's part of their game, and they know what they're doing. I always think of Drew Burris, who's at Georgia Tech now. He's always been an undersized guy, and he had a big swing, and I was like, man, I wish he'd calm that swing down. Man, I wish he'd calm that swing down. And then he hit one about 400 feet, and I was like, that kid knows exactly what he's doing. So some kids can get away with it. But, these kids are trying to impress a different generation. And if there were any 17-year-old scouts or 17-year-old CEOs, they might have a shot. But when the old man's sitting up there, sometimes I don't understand stuff. Like, I understand clean shoes.
Yeah.
You roll out and you got a clean pair of shoes on, and then you can tell you wiped them off or polished them. That makes an impression on me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're cut from the same cloth. I'm 62, so so I understand what you're saying. But I wanted to say that when we were at the convention, I had a long talk with Buzz because we were talking exactly about that because, again, new program for me, new program for him. And, again, that's what I love about that convention is you can sit with guys like that and brainstorm a little bit, help each other out. I love it. And I also met Ricky Howell recently. So
Ricky Howell played for me.
Yeah, he told me.
And he's an assistant coach to Buzz. And those guys, I'm telling you, they're building something special where they're at. And their administration is phenomenal. That school, I don't know if you know this, that school's won like 100 state championships in football, and they're really good at football and basketball. And they've kind of disregarded the other sports in the past. The old football coach, Coach Black, is now the AD, and Buzz went to all of them and said, I don't want to play second fiddle to anybody. And they were like, no, you don't understand. For us to be a championship school, and we want to be good at everything. And, they convinced him to take the job. I think they spent almost $2 million on their field.
Wow.
Through grants and donations. They have turf infield. They have really nice locker room. And they've done that all themselves.
Wow.
They got out and worked, and it's a prime example of like all the coaches and parents that look at their program and feel sorry for themselves. At no point have they felt sorry for themselves.
Yeah.
He told me, he said when he first met with the team, he said, you're going to make grades, you're going to do this. And he had 19 kids quit.
Yeah.
And it left him with 12. And he goes, all right, we're going with these 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now, he's got his roster back up. This coming spring, first time ever they've played JV baseball. He's got enough players to play JV. They're taking a Florida trip.
Yeah.
He gears them up. Man, their gear's nice. And, he's doing it right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, our situations they mirrored each other. Now, I met Buzz a few years ago, and, it's just great to have the program that I'm in now. Same deal. Football is really good. Basketball is really good. Baseball's been neglected. So when I interviewed for the job, the AD said to me, new AD, so that makes a difference. And he said to me, I want to bring baseball back. So I said, all right, give me, like I said, 3 to 5 years. I said, and we'll be able to compete. We do not have a baseball field. Okay. The upside to that is that we play most of our home games in the Yankees High A stadium. So we get to play our games there. But practice facilities, I practice on a football field. Mm-hmm. And I'm fine with it. I don't, that's all I need. Just give me the football field and I'm fine. So it's tough, but Buzz and I are in the same situation. So it's nice to have a guy like that we can bounce things off of.
Sure.
There's one other thing that I wanted to get, because I could talk to you for this show would be 3-4 hours long, but let's talk a little bit about the mental side of the game, because I know that's important to you and it's very important to me. So tell me what you do. How do you handle it with your players? What's important?
I just think, it's a game. It's a game. And it breaks my heart when I see kids pretty much have nervous breakdowns over the game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I've never cried over a loss. I can remember in Little League, I was not a good winner, and I had a coach sit me down and go, "Hey, Chief, you got to be stronger than this." And I'm like, "I don't like to lose." And he goes, "Everybody loses." You're wrecking yourself. You're wrecking yourself when it's just a game. And I've never forgot. He was really good. He was a really good coach. He didn't know a lot about baseball, but he knew a lot about kids. And he spent time with us, and he'd play catch with us and practice. Practices were awesome. And I think that was a big decider, because when I was younger, I played basketball, I played football. I was like every other kid. I played everything. And I think the thing that made me decide to go baseball was I really enjoyed practicing.
Yeah.
And what I found this out in high school. I found out the guys that practice really hard, they get better. I've never seen it. You may have seen it. Others are going to go, "No, I don't agree with that." But I've never seen a kid put a whole bunch of time in and not be a good high school baseball player.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never seen that. Now, if you put a whole bunch of time in, are you going to hit 90? I don't know.
Right.
But if you put a whole bunch of time in, I know you're going to hit 80.
Yeah. And you're going to be able to locate, and you're going to be effective.
And I remember, I think about mental game. And I remember I was as good as my first at bat. I went through that spell. If I got a hit my first at bat, I was bulletproof. I own you.
Yeah.
And the next at bat, if I struck out, I was like, I'm 1 for 2. I still own you. You got me that time. But if I went 0 for 0 and then 0 for 2, I hit a ground ball to short in my third at bat, and I'm figuring out my batting average as I'm running to first. And I was like, this can't be good. And then, I had a guy tell me, he said, divide your season up into 10 at bats. Like, if you go 5 for 10, you're hitting 500. When you get to your 11th at bat, start over again. Like, so, I was like, man, this guy, he's really smart. He was teaching me mental game.
Yeah.
And I believe this. I believe kids who train hard are more mentally tough. Now, with that said, there's a difference between training hard and, training like a Navy SEAL to go fight Taliban. There's a huge difference in that. I don't think we're developing SEALs,
Right.
But I want my kids physically strong. I am a major proponent of weight room.
Yeah.
Because I think if you build bumps on your arm, it gives you confidence.
Yeah.
You feel like you're stronger than the other guy. And I'm a proponent of sweat equity. Put everybody in the weight room. Everybody gets sweaty. We got better today.
Yeah.
And I've seen 100, 1,000 kids where the first 2 weeks in the weight room, they have no technique. It's heavy. It's hard. I've had kids cry. First 2 weeks cry. And then flip a switch in their mind and go, hey, we're coming in here. I might as well get good at this.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that you end up counting on.
Yeah.
But again, it comes down, if you have a heart for it, you're going to really enjoy the toughness of it.
Yeah.
Because there's accomplishment there. It's not being handed to you, it's being earned. And in today's society, parents act like nets. They never let their kid hit the ground. And if you never hit the ground, you never have to get up off of it.
Yeah.
And I believe the more times you can get up off the ground, the more tough you're going to be.
Yeah.
And this is kind of outside the box, but I think if you want to be tough, you got to be a little bit paranoid, and you got to create situations where everybody's against you. Nobody thinks you can make it. They doubt you, and you make yourself tough. And I just think if you put that toughness in there, the mental piece comes with it. I was doing mental toughness and didn't know I was doing it. Everybody does it. If I had a game and I was over 4 and I was playing first base, I'd be out there at first base going, okay, I'm not hitting right now, but I'm the best defensive first baseman these people have ever seen.
Yeah.
People want to play. Infielders want me at first base.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But I like what you said about being pessimistic, because that's something that I preach all the time. And it's a very simple concept. I just tell them, just prove everybody wrong. That's it.
Put a chip on your shoulder. But the best players, these guys that are going to play in the Super Bowl, they got a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
Even the Chiefs, who've won it 2 years in a row, those guys, they got a chip on their. Everybody, every time they play, goes, "Oh, the referees are for them."
Oh, God.
And the Chiefs are in that locker room going, "No, we won that game. We had to go out and perform." And on the flip side, the Eagles are like, nobody's giving us any respect. Nobody's betting on us. Vegas thinks, they're going to win. So everybody needs a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurt, Coach Saban loves him enough to tell him, you need to go someplace else and play.
Yeah.
And he goes to Oklahoma, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
And you hear a Jalen Hurt talk about Coach Saban like he's a second father. This is the guy that said, you can't play here anymore. You got to go someplace else.
Yeah.
And see, that's mental toughness to me.
Yeah. I had a kid years ago, and I've told this story real quick, is he tried out as a freshman, I believe he was. He tried out for JV, didn't make it, and the kid was a decent ball player, and he was all upset. And he calls me up. I coached him in travel ball. He calls me up, and he says, "Coach, I got cut. I'm going to be on the freshman team. And I said, so what are you upset about?" So I said, "Well, I wanted to play JV." I said, "Listen to me." I said, "You play freshman baseball, and you go out there and you prove everybody wrong." I said, "That's it. That's your mission this year." So he said, "Okay, Coach, gotcha." He goes out his first game as freshman, throws a no-hitter. So I called him up, and I said, "That's it. You proved them wrong. Done."
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I just think, I don't know, and I don't mean to be, I'm not being negative. I'm trying to be real, but I think a lot of guys, they get inches away from like the finish line, and they just quit.
And they fold. Yeah.
It's hard. I don't want to do this anymore. And in high school baseball, it's about 16 when they get their driver's license.
Yeah.
If you get your driver's license, you can look at it as an opportunity to get to the field early, to get more swings in the cage, come on an off day. But if you get your driver's license and you're showing up 2 minutes before practice starts and stuff, I've done it long enough to where I know exactly what's about to happen.
Yeah.
The other thing is girlfriend.
Number one killer.
And I hate girlfriends are undefeated. And I've never seen a girlfriend lose if she wanted to win. And, if the girlfriend is important, that's cool. But if you're spending more time with your girlfriend than you are your game, you've made up my mind for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell my high school players all the time, number one killer of high school baseball players is girls. All the time. Like you said,
I had a player he had a really good line. He was my best player, and he dated whoever he wanted, but he'd been dating the same girl, and she was awesome. She was the one that was like, he would go, "Hey, I need to hit on Friday night. I need to hit," and she'd be perfectly okay with it. Like she wouldn't go, "Oh, you don't love me," or anything like that. But I had a player one time, and this kid, it was his first girlfriend, and and I was in my office, and I had the door open. I heard this guy, my best player, go, "Hey man, if you were hitting 200, like your batting average is at the same level as your girlfriend's look." And the kid didn't get it at first. He goes, "You got 200 girlfriend?" He said, "Man, if you're hitting 400, you'd be dating the homecoming queen. She'd want to date you." And I always thought that was funny that they were comparing girlfriends to batting averages,
Oh, God. Well, one last thing, and then I'm going to let you go. Okay, so what advice would you give to coaches out there, youth coaches, travel coaches, high school coaches? What's the best advice you would give them?
I would, oh man, that's such a good question. I just see so many coaches like this summer and that travel stuff. I saw coaches that they lost their mind on kids when it wasn't the kid's fault, you know. And I think every coach has the same nightmare. The night before the first game, you start thinking of all the stuff you didn't go over that might come up. And, you know, how dare you go off on a kid when you never taught him what to do? And I think as a player, I think you need to develop the strongest IQ you can develop. You got to watch baseball. You got to talk baseball. You got to love baseball. My best players were always curious kids. You know, Vanderbilt's second baseman right now, he's one of mine. He played at Cookeville, and he's a tremendous hitter. Led the team. He was hitting 316, but in the SEC, he was hitting like 350. He was leading the team against the best pitching. He was hitting better.
Yeah.
And he went to sacrifice bunt against Mississippi State, and the dude ran one up and in, and it hit him in the left eye. It came off the bat and hit him in the left eye. He had 5 plates in his eye, missed 3 series, and came back for the SEC tournament. You know, with the face mask on, and it was incredible. I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to let him pinch hit. And Corbs was putting him in just so he could see pitches. And he ended up walking on 4 pitches, but the first pitch was high and tight. Like, it came close, and he didn't flinch. And I'm like, oh my God, that kid's so tough. And after the game, I was like, dude, you didn't even move on that fastball up and in. And he said, Coach, that mask, I couldn't see anything. I didn't know where it was. And I thought, man, I thought he was tough, and he never even saw it coming. But, you know, be tough. I used to challenge myself with toughness, and I'd wake up at like 4 in the morning and do push-ups and sit-ups.
Yeah.
Like nobody else waking up. I'd go, nobody else is waking up 4 in the morning.
Yeah, no.
I'd run around the neighborhood pitch black. Nobody else is doing this.
Yeah.
And mentally, I was building myself up. Something else I would do, and then, you know, I know I'm getting long-winded. I've been long-winded all night. But
No, you've been good.
I don't think enough kids challenge themselves enough, like with the game enough.
Yeah.
You know, I see on, you know, man, if you're swinging a bat or throwing a pitch on, you know, X, I'm all over that.
Yeah.
And if I see one more kid on a 300-foot field all the way around whose dad is lobbing balls to his bat and he's going pull side deep, that's all that's doing is jacking your swing up. And we do this camp. There's 5 or 6 of my friends. They're all in pro ball, and I'm the only non-pro ball guy. But we've been doing this camp for like 20 years, and it started out with 15 kids, 6 instructors and 15 kids. And it's grown to where we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 sessions, and each session we have 250 different kids.
Wow.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's just grown because it's no frills.
Wow.
Like, there are no games. There's very little rest. It's just nonstop teaching, walking around, teaching kids, telling them what they need to hear, what they need to know. And at lunch break, there's a 2-hour lunch break, and then obviously the camp ends at like 5 o'clock. And we have the option to do lessons. Like parents will go, hey, I want 30 more minutes with that guy or that. I want 30 more minutes with Jimmy on how to field a ground ball. Well, I'm like the hitting guy at this camp, so I'll get lessons. And I just did a lesson this camp's between Christmas and New Year's. And I did a lesson with an 8-year-old kid. And I told the head guy, he goes, hey, you got a lesson with this kid. And I'm like, how old is he? And he goes, 8. And I'm like, I've been standing up all day, been throwing balls all day. I'm almost gone. And he goes, yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. So I get down there, and kid's 8 years old, and he's light. He probably seriously doesn't weigh 75 pounds. And I go, okay, let's see what we're working with. And I threw him a ball, and he just smokes it with a beautiful swing. And I'm like, what? What's going on here? So I throw him about 5 more, and he's like, whack, whack. I went, can you hit it that way? Whack. It goes that way. And I'm like, all right. I mean, it gave me like wind.
Yeah.
And so I walk around the else green in the cage, and I start talking to the kid, And he starts telling me about how he trains and what he does. He's 8 years old. And his dad's standing next to the cage. And I look at his dad, and his dad goes, he loves it.
Wow.
He could do this this is his thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So I'll be honest with you. He had such a good swing. I was like, how am I going to get 30-minute lesson out of this? Because he's good. I'm just going to throw him BP for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, I started throwing him, and, we made a couple adjustments, and he instantly made the adjustments. Like his bat was straight up. And I said, hey, let's tilt that thing. See if you can make it feel heavy. Did it instantly and kept it there. Didn't have to tell him again.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, I looked at his dad, and I said, this kid's special.
Yeah, I'd say.
I said, this kid is special. And he goes, well, I appreciate that. And I go, no, I'm not blowing smoke here.
Yeah.
I said, you got something here.
Yeah.
And you need to invest in this as long as he wants to do it, because he could be really good. Yeah. And he goes, nobody's ever told him that before. And I looked at him, I went, you could be really good. Yeah. But you got to do this right. And I said, here's the first thing I'm going to tell you. Don't let anybody lob a ball at him. And I start throwing it hard, and he's peppering balls. I said, that's how he needs to train. He needs to train for more than what he's going to see. Because you can always drop down, but it's hard when you've never seen it to go up.
Sure.
So he needs to train at velocity. I said, right now, every day, and every time he hits, end with 5-10 minutes of breaking balls. Nobody wants to hit the curveball, but every good player. I mean, I've talked to a ton of pro guys who said if I could go back, I'd hit breaking balls off the machine every day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean, challenge yourself. As a player, challenge yourself.
Yeah. I love that. Now, I got to ask you selfishly, these camps, what are they, one-day camps?
What it is there's like a morning session and an afternoon session. And in the morning session, I'll have a whole bunch of hitters, 200 hitters. And then those guys in the afternoon, they go to defensive specific. And the defensive guys that were in the morning, they come to hitting. So they kind of flip.
Sure.
Meanwhile, we've got 75 POs, like in a gym, in an indoor. They work on pitching. They just work on pitching. And Danny Clark's over there. He's, director of pitching development for the Rangers. Brian Bridges, who's the scouting director for the Royals, who works it. Ashley Lawson, who's special assignment with the Rangers, works it. Michael Holmes, who's director of scouting for the Giants, works it. And we just been doing it so long. And I'll be honest with you, we look at it as we get to do baseball, but it's also we get to hang out together for a couple days.
Yeah, which is cool.
Just old friends getting together doing baseball.
Yeah, because I'm trying to do the same thing around here, trying to give like an alternative to travel baseball, because and it's for the little guys. I don't want to do high school guys in the summer. I want the little guys so we can teach them the rudiments of the game. And that's why I said I'm selfishly asking you how you do it.
A situation like that, I've always said, hopefully I'll live a few more years, that when I get toward the end, I'm going to put a baseball yard in my backyard. I'm going to put a baseball field, and it's going to be free. And I'm going to coach kids that have never played before. Those kids that I didn't want to coach when I was a 24-year-old head coach. I thought that was beneath me. And I'm going to go back. I'm going to find, a good high school program, and I want to be the freshman coach or the JV coach. Yeah. I want to go all the way back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think of my childhood. My first year of high school, I got cut, and I went home, and again, tremendous mother, tremendous father. I went home, and I was like, Mom, I got cut. And I loved baseball. And my mom was like, well, I guess you weren't good enough. You got to get better. She didn't call a coach.
Right.
She didn't write a school board member.
Yeah.
She told me, you weren't good enough. You better get better. And she was right. I look back, she was right.
Yeah.
And I got better. She put me on an airplane. I went to a baseball camp in Florida. They weren't doing baseball camps when I was a kid. And this was you may have heard of them. It was a Doyle Brothers camp, and it was the very first Doyle Brothers camp. Denny and Brian,
Yep.
and I went to that thing, and there were 10 coaches and 35 kids. And I got in the batting cage the first day. I was 14 years old, flew down there. They picked me up in a van, put me in the Holiday Inn, woke me up for breakfast. We went to the field. We stretched. I was in one of the groups that went to the cage first. I got in the cage, and my first movement with my hands was down and then back up. And Denny Doyle, who played for the Red Sox,
Yeah.
Denny Doyle said, "Hey, don't do that." And I'm like, "What am I doing?" He goes, "You're doing this. Don't do that." And next pitch, I didn't do it. I took my hands back. Hit the ball on the barrel. And I was like, oh my gosh, this guy fixed me in 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Yeah.
The value of a coach.
Yeah.
No coach ever told me not to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's like the story I was telling you about the kid the other night and doing a drill in front of the mirror. He actually said that to me. He said, "Coach," he said, "I don't understand." He said, how come no other coach ever told me, what you're telling me?" And I will not bash another coach. I will not say to him, "Well, your coach didn't know what he was doing."
Right.
I said, "Look, we have different ways of doing things." I said, "And you have to decide who you trust, either what he was telling you or what I'm telling you." And it usually works. But yeah, to your point, some guys don't know to fix it.
They don't. And I would say this, we live in a generation where a lot of the coaching is done by guys, they learn it off their phone, off YouTube or something like that. I would say this, if you have a parent of a player, I'd try to put him in front of as many coaches as possible. But a lot of parents, they cocoon their kids.
Yes.
They coach them all the way up through high school, and then they stand on the fence and they yell stuff. And then in the summer, they coach them again, and they never let them go.
Yeah.
And when I was coaching high school, they'd be like, "Hey, coach, can I go to this guy this weekend and hit?" And I'd go, "Yeah, go see if he's saying the same thing I am.
Yeah.
Go see if he's saying the same thing I am."
Sure.
And he might say the same thing, but in a different way, and it might help the kid, and I benefit because that guy helped him.
Absolutely.
But I think a lot of coaches, it's an attack on their manhood to turn over pitchers and hitters to other people, I guess. I don't know.
No, again, we all know that, the end goal is to make that kid better. However we can help him to get better, whether it's with me or it's with another coach, hey, let's get him better, period, the end.
Right.
So, all right, Butch, I know you jumped in on short notice. I appreciate it. This is, as usual, great conversation, and I just want to thank you so much.
Hey, no problem, man. Jimmy, I'm here to help, do whatever I can. You're in it for the same reason I'm in it, to help the game and to help guys out. And you've heard me say this before. I said it at the first show. When I started as a head coach, I was 24 years old. I didn't have any assistant coaches. I recruited a freshman to sit next to me on a bucket and be my manager just so I'd have somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
And I sat on that bucket and said, man, if I last in this game, I'm going to do whatever I can to help people out, any possible way I can.
Yeah. And you're doing a great job of that. So, you're an inspiration. You've been an inspiration to me, and in some ways, because I followed you all of these years, you've been a mentor to me. One of the things that I've always said is, I'm in a unique situation. I've never been an assistant coach. I've always been a head coach. All right. That is a very tough road to get good at this game because, there's nobody to learn from. Right. So it's guys like you, it's guys like Sheets, it's guys like Springer and Mongero and all of you guys that have been an inspiration that helped me to get better at what I do.
That's humbling, and I appreciate it more than you know because, like I said, I'm getting older, and I don't know how much time I've got left. I don't mean to be morbid, Sheets is probably, Adam Mosley and Sheets are probably two of my greatest friends, and they know how I feel about it. I would hate to think I get to the end of my life and look back and I didn't leave any fingerprints on anybody. Yeah. So for about the last 25 years, man, I've been trying to leave fingerprints everywhere.
Yeah, well,
And you never know when you have impact. I never know when I have impact, but I don't know if anybody's silly enough to listen to me, but man, I've thrown some stuff out there, and I appreciate you saying what you said.
no, I mean it. Otherwise, I wouldn't say it, but thank you. I mean, really, honestly.
You're more than welcome.
So enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you for being my guest for my 100th episode. It's a milestone, and this is great. We'll keep rolling.
We need patches made or something like this. Stickers, helmet stickers.
Well,
stars.
Actually,
I got 2 stars.
Actually, to tell you real quick before I let you go, when you were on last time, you told me about Credo on the back of your hat. Okay,
Yeah.
So this year when I had my hats made, I had on the side, because we have the warrior.
Right.
We're the warrior, so we have a warrior on the back. But on the side of the hat, I had SCID, which is sportsmanship, character, integrity, discipline. But I got that because of talking to you, and you said you did Credo. I said, I'm going to do this.
Appreciate it. That's
So.
awesome.
Yeah. So thanks again, Butch.
No problem. Go Yankees.
Yes. What better way is there to put a nice, big, bright star on our 100th episode with Butch Chaffin? We're coming up on 4 years of trying to provide the best content that we can from some of the best coaches in the country to help everyone to get better for our players. I mean, we've had some of the biggest names in baseball come on this show to, share their thoughts, share their ways of doing things, whether it be mental performance stuff, X's and O's of the game, culture, just so many things and so many good stories from these guys. Our very first guest, Steve Springer, has become a friend from this show. It's amazing. Then we go to Anthony Plow, who really helped me understand that, reach out to these coaches. In the beginning, I was a little shy from reaching out to high-level coaches because I felt that, maybe they wouldn't want to come on the show. So thank you to Anthony for what he did. Then again, early on, Butch Chaffin. Then we had guys like Kevin Gallagher, Jonathan Reinbold, who is a mentor to me as far as the mental performance game goes, Joe Guzman, who's constantly sending me new guests for the show, Peter Caliendo, we've had him on, twice on the show. And, I can't go through this list without mentioning Jeremy Sheetinger, who's been a great help to me in both coaching and the podcast world. I can keep going with these guests, Mike Kozlowski, Paul Reddick, Mike Capps, Taylor Valentine, Alan Jaeger, Eric Holtz. 100 episodes of having the best of the best. It's really, really humbling. We've had, Jeff Sofa and Sean Plack from the Kansas City Royals, Devin Morgan, Driveline Academy, Paul Gallo, Pudge Dorman, Mike Cassidy, all of the ABCA guys from the Youth Baseball Summit. Carl Nichols came on, talked to us a lot about working with young players, had a lot of good information. Jim Chester. I can just keep going. Jake Lindmeyer, Matt Rienzi, RJ Farrell. I know I'm kind of boring you with, all of these names, and I know I'm missing a lot of people that have been on this show. Scott Stelz, Jeff Schaefer, all of the USA baseball coaches. I mean, Brian Madsen, Brad Latchman, Wes Brooks, Josh Jelly Ellison, Eric Casada, Roger Wright. I really shouldn't be naming names because I'm probably going to forget someone, but all of you guys from USA Baseball that have come on the show, your contribution to baseball is incredible. Ken Carpenter, who I want to wish all the best. I know Ken is going through, a little bit of issues with a little bit of health issues, but you know what? The thing, too, if you look at it, we've had several people on this show that also do podcasts. Ken is one of them. Schaefer is another one. Caliendo is another one. Ryan Brownlee. It just goes to show you how much all of us are trying to help each other. We're not trying to outdo each other. We're all in this together. So I know I got a little long-winded here, but I just want to thank everybody that has helped this podcast to the first 100 episodes, and I can't thank everybody enough, and I'm really looking forward to the next 100 episodes. So, if you enjoyed today's show, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Visit the website at thectbshow.net. Listen to your favorite episodes, and please leave us a review. You can also reach out to the show on social media, X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, please drop us an email at clearingthebases@gmail.com. Your feedback helps us bring you the best content and reach more people in the baseball community just like you. And also, let me know if you'd like to be a guest. Until then, coaches and players, keep practicing, stay positive, and remember, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Thanks, everyone, and I'll see you on the next one.